Hi, I'm Ashley from Sunny Made, and today we are going to go over how to make 8 at a time half square triangles. Welcome back to my channel. If you're following along with our Beginner Skill Builder Sampler Quilt, we are on month 6. If you're just here to learn how to make the 8 at a time half square triangles, welcome. We're glad you're here. Okay, month 6. This is the beautiful block we're going to be making this month. Week 1, we're going to go over how to make 8 at a time half square triangles. Week 2, we're going to learn how to make, this is similar to a square within a square or a diamond within a square. It's actually called an economy block, and you get that when you have the 3 layers. Week 3, I'm going to go over some tips that will help you be more accurate with your with making your quilt blocks, some tips on the machine, things like that. And then of course, week 4, we're gonna sew this puppy together. So this is our beautiful quilt block that we're gonna work on this month. And let's see, what do we need this week? We need 2 pieces of fabric. You need your colored points and your background. You need 1 square of each, and they are going to be 8 inches by 8 inches. So I have my point color, my colored fabric, and my background fabric, both 8 inches square. Thread on your machine, I'm going to just continue to use my white thread because I have a white background. Make sure your iron is nice and hot and ready to use. A cutting mat, you are going to need a ruler and a square. So we are going to be making 8 half square triangles that are going to be trimmed to 3.5 inches each. That's our unfinished size, so you need a square with a diagonal on the line, a diagonal on it that is at least that big. I have a 4.5 inch, and that works perfect. A writing utensil, rotary cutter, did I say that? Cutting mat, and I think that's it. If you have any questions about the supplies I'm using, I do have several links down in the description box. That'll just take it over to Amazon. You can take a look at what I'm using. So that's about it. So gather your stuff together and check back in, and we will get started making 8 at a time half square triangles. Okay, let's get started. Here are our 2 pieces. Once again, they are 8.5 inches by 8.5 inches. We need the point colored fabric, and we need a background fabric. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this background fabric, or whichever one is lighter for you, and we are going to draw a line from corner to corner. Today I am just using a pencil. Pencils work great, especially on lighter colored fabric. You could use a chalk pencil. You can use some cool writing utensil that's made just for quilting. It doesn't really matter. Okay, you're going to put this down, pattern side up, right sides together. You're going to put this right on top of it, and I'm actually going to pin this together so it doesn't move while I'm sewing it. I like to pin them, especially with the big blocks, because like I said, otherwise it will move. So I'm just going to put 2 in out of the way of those lines. Now I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch down each side of that line, both lines. Okay, take it to the sewing machine and meet me back here. Okay, we have this all sewn up. Let me get it closer. You'll see the middle here. You can see how 1/4 inch from each side here, 1/4 inch from each side here. Let's take those pins out. Okay, now it's time to cut this up into 8 pieces. So we're going to start by cutting it right along those 2 diagonals. That is a weird angle for me. Okay, make sure these don't move. Then we're going to take our ruler and we're going to do it north and south, horizontal, vertical and horizontal. So we're going to line it up over here at that 4-inch mark. Line it up down here on a nice line. Okay. Carefully pick it up. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Once again, 4-inch line. And that 4-inch line should go right down the center of that. Line it up here. Okay. Carefully pull it back. Those are our 4 cuts. Diagonal, vertical, horizontal. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 half square triangles. We open this up. You have your half square triangles. So now we need to take them to the ironing board. I'm going to iron these towards the dark fabric. So we are going to start with the dark side up, just like we've done with all our other half square triangles. Touch it with the ruler, set that seam, finger press it open, and iron it nice and flat. I know that finger pressing it adds an extra step, but you know, when I started doing it, I used to not do it because I'm like, oh, that takes so much longer, especially when you have quilts that have like 5,000 half square triangles. But I found that my line in the middle just came out so much better than if I just did this. And yes, you can still tell it's a nice straight line, and that works great. But if you pull it open with your fingers and finger press it, you're going to get a straighter line, and they look so much cleaner and crisper. Oops. My fancy iron is too fancy for me. All right, 2 more. Ooh, I caught it. Yep, I caught it on that foot on the bottom. See? I have feet that come out. Lift it up when I am done using it. Okay. We're going to take these back to the cutting mat. And now it's time to trim these up. I do have a tutorial on how to trim them up, but I'm just going to go over it super quick here. This size needs to be 3.5 inches. So first I'm going to start by lining up this seam line with the diagonal line on my ruler. Okay. We have just enough room to do a little trimming so we can make it nice and neat. Flip it around. Now we're going to line up the side and the bottom that we just trimmed at 3.5 inches because that's how big we want it to be. The diagonal should go right along that seam because that's what we did it off of the first time. And trim the side and top, and there is our 3.5 inch square, half square triangle. So we're going to trim all of these up. And then we will end up with 8 half square triangles. So here, these ones aren't trimmed yet, but I'll get them done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 half square triangles. And these are going to end up being our points on a star. So this is another way that instead of doing flying geese here, you could do half square triangles, sew them together here down the middle, and create those exact same points that you can get with the flying geese. Okay, you should have ended up with 8 half square triangles. They need to all be trimmed to 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. Get those done and then get ready for next week. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I will come back and answer them. Also, make sure you like and subscribe so that you can make sure and get next week's lesson, and I will see you next week. Have a good week.